Hello, I want to welcome everybody into the next episode in the Rockin with the Brocklin podcast. This will be episode 6, recording on March 27th. This will probably be a shorter episode since we did have one pretty recently, at least for my standards. But regardless, I appreciate everybody tuning in and listening. So let's talk some Nuggets. Let's talk some NBA. And at this point, we're probably like 2.5 weeks from the end of the regular season. Um, Playoffs are coming really quick. I can't tell you how excited I am. Me and some friends are actually going to a Nuggets Jazz game. It's going to be in Salt Lake City, and that's going to be I think it's going to be about a week and a half from now. One of the next Tuesdays, the 9th. But yeah, very excited for that. I saw them last year in April when they came to Salt Lake. It was really cool to see them, but at the same time, they'd pretty much locked up the number one seed. So, like, it wasn't the most competitive game from Denver's side. They didn't even play any starters in the fourth quarter. This year, it's looking a little bit different. So, I think we'll be able to see them play the whole game. And not only that, at a high level, because that's going to be a very important game for the Nuggets more so than the Jazz. Jazz are already eliminated from playoff contention, so they're pretty much not playing for anything right now, except for maybe a lottery pick. But yeah, anyway, let's get started. Last game covered on the last episode was the game right before this one. I'm blanking on it. How could I forget the Kyrie Irving left-handed hook shot game winner over the Nuggets? Um, that was crazy, and we went into that in detail already. But I want to talk about this game against the Timberwolves. This game was, it was a little scary. Like, we had quite a big lead around halftime and in the third quarter. And the Timberwolves got back in the game, which was really stressing me out when I was watching it. The big thing, though, is that they were missing literally all three of their bigs, that being Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, who's still out, and then Naz Reid, who we'll talk about him a little later. But he's kind of like he's their backup center, essentially. He plays for Gobert and Towns at times. But he's kind of like a cult fan favorite, if you will, for the Wolves. They're very passionate about Naz Reid, and I think it's awesome. Regardless, though, Minnesota's still a good team, and they're still coached very well. Anthony Edwards was really good until the fourth quarter, where he scored no points at all. He did have a chance at a game-winning three a game-tying three at the end of the game. But he missed it. It was a little short off the rim. The Nuggets were in control for most of the time, but kind of just let their foot off the gas pedal, and Minnesota got back in the game. But it was a strange game for Jokic. He only finished the game with 2 assists. He really wasn't. Minnesota has the number one defense in the league, so I would expect it to be harder for him to find wide open passes, for open shots or people cutting to the basket. Their defense is solid. Like, everybody on their roster plays with such intensity. Alexander Walker and Jaden McDaniels are really good defensive. They play on the wing and interior. Not as much when Towns and Gobert are in there, but they were still doing good. Kyle Anderson is a good defender too. He actually started at center for them because they didn't have any centers besides Luke Garza, who also played a pretty good game. But towards the beginning of the game, Jokic was just bullying them inside because they didn't really have like any bigs to challenge him at the rim. Regardless, their perimeter defense was fantastic the whole game. And Mike Conley is 36 years old, and he can still defend very well. Anthony Edwards is giving it his all on both ends of the court, every possession. Really impressive stuff from the Timberwolves. They're a great team, and they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. I can't lie. I think if there's one team I would prefer the Nuggets to have to avoid in the playoffs, it's probably in the West at least. It's probably the Timberwolves. They don't like. I still think the Nuggets will beat them, but I think it will be very very tough. We'll probably have home court, and we'll go over the standings a little later. We'll probably have home court advantage over them, but it's still dicey because they played us so well in last year's playoffs. Even though the Nuggets won that series 4-1, it was considered by a lot of the players and coaches to be the toughest series to win, just because of how well Minnesota matches up with us. They're a very big, physical, defensive team, built by Tim Connolly, who is the guy who he pretty much built the Nuggets roster to what it is today. Not all of it, but now he's working with the Wolves, and they've essentially been built to be the Nuggets kryptonite. So shout out to Tim Connolly. Great GM or executive. I'm not sure what his title was, but with Denver at least. But great game for Jokic, scoring and rebounding. He actually had more turnovers than assists, which is kind of funny. It was another great game from Michael Porter Jr., finishing with a very Michael Porter Jr. stat line of 26 points and 1 assist. But it'll get better, believe me. I talked about him last episode. He's been great since the All-Star break. Gordon was physical, not too dynamic of a scorer in this game. KCP played excellent defense on Anthony Edwards in the fourth quarter. He's guarding him a lot of the game, which might tell you like, oh man, well he still let Ant-Man get 30 points in 3 quarters, but the fourth quarter defense is really what mattered. I'm not gonna lie, Minnesota was hitting some like wild threes at the end of this game. Like this was like a 9-point game, and then they hit a contested 3, and then the Nuggets, they hit their free throws. Minnesota comes down and hits like another 2 contested threes. Not to say they didn't like. I'm not discrediting them at all. Like they're still a great team, but they hit some threes that I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy. More of a facilitator role in this game for Jamal Murray. Finished with a double-double, 18 and 11. Reggie Jackson, despite only having 2 points, was plus 17 in a game high for us. Kind of weird how the plus-minus works sometimes. Even though Reggie had 2 points and 2 turnovers, he was still plus 17. But anyway, moving on to the next game. Oh boy, this game. So as you know, the New York Knicks, they've been a little banged up. They did not have, obviously, Julius Randle, who, in my opinion, is like a top 25, top 30 player in the league. I didn't put him on my honorable mentions because he's been a little hurt, but he's still really good. They didn't have Mitchell Robinson, their starting center, or OG Anunoby, who came over in a trade from Toronto a couple months ago. But the Knicks, a lot like the Timberwolves, were banged up, but still have a great defense. This game was pretty close until the fourth quarter. That's kind of when the separation came out for Denver. Just a fantastic game against a good Knicks team, which, by the way, the Knicks, when we played them in New York earlier this season, that was our worst loss in a long time. We lost by 38. And Jokic was great in that game, but he can only do so much. We ended up scoring somewhere in the 80s, and he had like 31 of our points. It was crazy. But we got our revenge against them, which I was really happy about. They're a really good team, and I hope that they can get healthy, because if the New York Knicks get healthy, they're going to be a force in the East. Like, Jalen Brunson is legit. I don't know if he's a legit number 1 option on a championship team, but I'm thinking that they're going to make some noise if they're healthy. They're still in the 4 seed, I think, right now, even though Randall's been out for like what feels like forever. But yeah, Porter was just fantastic in this game. Game high 31 points. 0 assists, but he actually did have 1 assist, and it was to himself in a clip that I'll show you in just a minute. Solid game from Jokic around. I say solid game, but like this is another 30-point triple-double. Like this is the norm between him and Luka at this point. Murray with another solid game as well. He hit some pretty timely shots and got us energized. Murray was energetic in this game. Jokic was also a plus 30. Goodness, I didn't know about that. But yeah, super clean game this time around. The Knicks, they played tough, but you know, there's only so much you can do in Denver. I think right now, Denver with the team we have and just the altitude and the crowd, the home court, it's got to be the toughest place in the league to win. Like I know Boston does have a better home record at the moment. They're 32-3 and the Nuggets are 29-6, but like it's so tough to win in Denver. A lot of the losses that the Nuggets have had in Denver this season have been like 1, 2, or 3 points, like a 1 possession game. I know they lost against Orlando by I think 2. We lost against Oklahoma City by 1. There was another game, I think we lost by 3 against, I want to say, who was that? I think it was the Clippers. Don't check me on that, actually. Don't think it was the Clippers. The worst one I can think of recently is when we lost by 10 to Phoenix a couple weeks ago, which ended our 6-game winning streak. And we do play Phoenix tonight, actually. That'll be an exciting game to watch on national TV. But yeah, let me show you some highlights from the New York Knicks game. We do have another Jokic dime right here, which I was quite a fan of.
And it's all weak side defense.
Hartenstein's got 13. His season high is 17.
That's ridiculous. That's like a no look over the head curveball to Aaron Gordon. Like what am I even watching here? What sport is this guy playing? Double team. Oh, jeez. I mean, okay. Was it the most accurate pass in the world? No. But, like, dude's getting double teamed and he's not looking. Like, that's pretty amazing, all things considered. But, yeah, and then another highlight from this game was one that came a little later. Michael Porter Jr.
Underneath and lay it in.
You don't want to play with these guys in the third quarter. You got to match their intensity.
And off to Porter. He's got a look. He could lean in. He's going to put it on. Oh, he puts it off the backboard. And
that was sick. Porter Jr. doing a little Anthony Edwards, Michael Jordan impression, throwing it off the backboard to himself. That's what we like to see. Michael Porter's looked very healthy lately, and I think that's been really great to see just from like a perspective that he has gone through 3 back surgeries in his career already, and he's like not even 25. It's good to see him healthy because, you know, there was a point in time where he was considered the number 1 prospect in college. And the fact that he slipped to 14 and we drafted him is just literally a miracle. Next game. This was Saturday. Didn't get to watch this game live. Watched it on replay. I also have a friend who he actually wants to come on the podcast sometime. I want to have him on before the season ends. He's a big Portland Trailblazers fan. And I just want to get his like perspective on some things too. So maybe we can try to get that set up before the end of the season, just seeing kind of where Portland lies going forward, because you know they're kind of in a rebuild right now, despite, in my opinion, having some really solid players. I know they've just been devastated by injuries this season, to the point where they actually became the second team ever on Saturday to start 5 rookies in a game. Now, before you look at the score and think, oh my gosh, Denver beat 5 rookies by 3, Murray and Jokic were out for this game. Jokic was dealing with some lower back pain, probably from carrying our team. And Murray was dealing with, I think, an ankle and shin splits. So, I think they were willing to gamble that we could probably win this game without him, and we did. So, not that big of a deal. But yeah, 5 rookies from Portland. I just want to highlight these. Scoot Henderson, we all know, 3rd overall pick in the draft. Has had some injury problems, but when healthy, I think he's actually been pretty solid. Not like great, not like Wembanyama, and not really like having kind of a breakout second half of the season, a little bit like Brandon Miller, which nobody's talking about Brandon Miller. He's actually leading the league in steals since I think January 1st, or maybe the All-Star break, one of those two. But he's been solid as well. I had Ryan Rupert, I believe, European guy. Duop Reith, who my friend I was talking about is a big fan of. Duop Reith is essentially like the Nas Reed of Portland. He's usually Dominaton's backup, DeAndre Ayton. But he got the start tonight because Ayton was out. And he literally had the game high in points. Like, he finished with 24. And he's a good shooter, man. Like, efficient from the field, 3 of 6 from 3. I think Duop Reith is good. Tamani Kamara, who's been a really good rookie for them too. And then they had Chris Murray, who I don't think I'd ever heard of before. But all things considered, to Portland, they played pretty well. Duop Reith and Scoot were probably the highlights by far, just based off of their points. But, I mean, Duop Reith just played a balanced game. Had 2 blocks, had a steal, a couple of assists, 8 rebounds, good shooter. I'm interested to see what happens with him going forward, especially since they have Ayton. But, yeah, Nuggets side. Okay, this was a little frustrating of a game to watch, although there were numerous guys who played very well. Best player was probably Aaron Gordon. He did not shoot very well from the field. He actually was really inefficient in the first half in particular. But he did finish with 22 points and 12 assists, along with 3 blocks, which was kind of huge for us down the stretch. It was a quiet game for Porter. He didn't shoot very well, but actually all 12 of his points were in the second half. So it was kind of timely for him to score then. DeAndre Jordan was pretty good as well. He just didn't play too much of the game because Michael Malone opted in Christian Brown instead of DeAndre Jordan, and we played a smaller ball towards the end of the game, kind of with Gordon at the 5, which is what the Nuggets did in a lot of the playoffs last year, when they shortened the rotation, because the rotation last year was the 5 starters, Jeff Green, Bruce Brown, and Christian Brown, and he would just move Gordon to the 5. And Gordon, I mean, he's not like the tallest guy, but he's a very physical big guy, so he could get it done. KCP was good as well. Excellent defense as per usual. Had a couple steals, a couple blocks, including a really nice chase down block that he got in the second quarter. And then Reggie Jackson was great as well. He is so good as a starter. Like, I feel like sometimes the Nuggets are almost like, I don't want to say they're like wasting his talent, but that's kind of what I'm insinuating here. Because Reggie Jackson is good enough to still, like, he's a little older. He's in like his early 30s, but he's still good enough to be a starter on like probably like 15 or 20 teams in the league. And every time he starts, he just balls out. He was really good for us. Had a team high 23. Christian Brown off the bench was awesome. Very balanced game from him. 17, 8, 6, and 3 steals. And then Colin Gillespie was also really big in the first half. I was happy to see that he came in because he kind of gets like the backup point guard role whenever Jamal Murray's out. And he had a couple threes. Peyton Watson was very disappointing in this game. But he's also pretty much a rookie, so I don't want to give him like that much slack. Same with Colin Gillespie. He was a rookie last year, but he like broke his leg, so he never played. But Gillespie's been really good this year. He's actually a two-way player for the Nuggets, which means if they want to have him on the playoff roster, they actually have to sign him to like a new deal because two-way players are not allowed to play in the playoffs. So I'm hoping that maybe they could do that. I don't see them really needing to go to him, but Gillespie, he's been killing it in the G League lately. Like, I think he dropped like a 35-point triple-double in the G League. And the dude is like as tall as me. He's like 6'2". So like, which is really small for an NBA player. But yeah, this game got really close, particularly in the second half. Portland literally didn't make a three in the first half, and then in the second half they shot like 60% from three. But yeah, closer than I'd want, but I still really good effort by everybody on the team, and a win is a win. Next game, last game that they played current to now, was against Memphis, and Memphis is they've been more injury ridden this year than Portland, among other suspensions with a particular player on Instagram Live. But yeah, it was good to see Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson were both starting. Jaren Jackson, who's reigning Defensive Player of the Year. Desmond Bane, who probably will be an all-star at some point in his career. He's been solid for them. But this game was pretty much over from the start. Memphis cut it like a little close, but like this game was not close at all, really. We were up 69-44. We were up by 25, which is what we ended up winning by at halftime, and it was pretty much autopilot from there. Shout out though to Scottie Pippen Jr., who I actually thought played pretty well. He's a second-year guy he is the son of Scottie Pippen, the famous Bulls player who helped Michael Jordan in the 90s. He was really good. Desmond Bane was not the Desmond Bane we usually see, and oh my gosh, I like Jaren Jackson, and he's an all-star last year and reigning Defensive Player of the Year, but he got cooked. He got absolutely cooked by Jokic. Like, and not to mention he just kept jacking up threes. He was 1 for 7, and he has such an awkward shot. And I was just like, dude, you got to play interior more. Like, you're literally starting at the 5 against the best player in the world, man. Like, Jokic is certainly a better defender, and metrics would say he's actually a good defender this year. A lot of people think he's a liability. Definitely not the case anymore. But, like, Jokic, like, he's not going to be able to, like, he's not the fastest, He has quick hands, but, like, I don't know, man. You can use some moves, but yeah, J3 got cooked. Solid all-around game from everybody as well. Jokic played only 30 minutes. He didn't play in the third quarter at all. Or sorry, excuse me. He didn't play in the fourth quarter at all. But he did finish with 29, 11, and 8. Solid game from him. We were also without Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon for this game. But no big deal. Reggie Jackson, again, had a solid game. 15 points and 8 assists. Great game for Christian Brown. Again, back-to-back 17-point games from him. I'm really excited to see what he does tonight against the Suns. But yeah, I thought Peyton Watson was going to get the start, but they actually went with Christian Brown at the 3 instead of Peyton Watson at the 3, and then moved Porter down to the 4. But yeah, it was also nice to see Julian Strawther play again, because he hadn't played in, I want to say like 2 months. He's been dealing with a lot of different injuries, and also he is a rookie, and Michael Malone is a little hesitant to play them sometimes. But yeah, blowout win for Denver. Won 4 in a row, 15-2 since the All-Star break. Good stuff. Game tonight. 4 of the Nuggets starters are on the injury report. Jokic Murray, Porter, and Gordon, our big four, are all probable to questionable somewhere in there. But I have faith that they're going to play tonight, and if they don't, it's not that big of a deal anyway. I still think that we can beat Phoenix, especially the way the Phoenix has been playing lately, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, it'll be a really exciting game. It's going to be 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 10 p.m. East Coast. So yeah, this will be a good game, rematch of last year in the playoffs. Last time these two played, like I mentioned before, Phoenix actually won in Denver in overtime. It was a crazy game. The Nuggets came down from 22. I talked about it in my last episode. But yeah, good stuff from the Suns. Let's see if they can keep up that intensity tonight. I would love to see the Nuggets win against them, just kind of as a revenge game a little bit. But yeah, we had a good talk about the Nuggets. I'm gonna move over to some other stuff in the NBA, and then we'll kind of close it out. Oh my goodness, this was the same night that the Nuggets played the Grizzlies the other day. The Boston Celtics, who have had the best record in the NBA this season, were up by 30 against the Atlanta Hawks and lost the game. I did not get to watch this game at all. I just heard about it, and I watched some of the highlights, and I could not believe what I was watching. But yeah, the Celtics did not have Derek White or what's his name, Drew Holiday, their two starting guards. So they had Tatum and Brown start as point and shooting guard. That's really funny to me because they're both forwards. What a weird starting lineup this is. I assume Brown was the point guard just because he's normally a 3 and Jason Tatum is a 4, but whatever. Tatum had a good game statistically. Of course, I can't really say actually because they were up 68-38. But one thing I want to mention about this is that the Hawks were actually missing their best player, Trae Young, who it was one of my picks for honorable mention, top 25 player. I don't know what happened. I don't know how to explain this, but I'm just saying that this has been a trend for Boston. They are, they've won 57 games with 10 left to go. They could possibly finish with 67 games won this season, which would be incredible in today's age, considering that the league is more competitive than it used to be in, even like the last 10 or 20 years. But they continue to get big leads and just blow them. And I don't know why they seem to mentally check out, because, although I didn't watch this game, I've seen it before. I watched the Cleveland Cavaliers game when they were up by 22 in the fourth quarter and lost. I watched the game against Denver where the Celtics were up by 12, or sorry, the game in Boston where the Celtics were up by 12 against the Nuggets and blew that lead. Like, part of it seems to be a mental game for them. Part of it seems to be the fact that they shoot like the most threes in the league. And when these guys are hot from 3, they look untouchable. But when they get on a cold streak, their shot selection is so poor for a team that is this good. Like, a lot of times when you're watching like good teams play, like they make easy shots. But they not only make easy shots, but they take easy shots. And that's all, like, getting an easy shot in the NBA is not easy, ironically. But, they have different plays that are called. Different, teams read the defenses. Oklahoma City does this a lot with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Obviously, the Nuggets do it a lot with Jokic running everything because, he, like, sees the court. Milwaukee even does this, too, because of the freakish athleticism of Giannis, along with Damian Lillard being able to pull up from anywhere. So, those guys are such threats that, it can leave other guys open. Then you have cutters to the basket. You have wide open corner threes. not to say Boston doesn't get easy shots sometimes, but like you should see them at the end of games sometimes. It like they just like forget how to play basketball sometimes. I don't I don't know what is up with that at all. But like there's a possession I saw late in this game where literally the Celtic, there was like a minute left, maybe less than a minute. And Jaylen Brown, who I presume was the point guard for this game, dribbles the shot clock all the way down to like 6 seconds and takes like a fadeaway contested three, and of course he misses. And I'm just like, that's not good offense. Like I'm almost spoiled as a Nuggets fan being able to see how well they run offense in the last couple minutes of a game. Because obviously at this point the two-man game between Murray and Jokic is like famous. But like other teams don't seem to struggle this much in the last couple minutes of a basketball game like the Celtics do. I don't know whether that's the coaching or just the players, like, because they have such a talented team. Like from a talent perspective, they have the best starting five in the NBA. Tatum, Brown, Porzingis, Derek White, Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday is a lockdown defender. Derek White is also a lockdown defender, and he can be like the X factor, give you 15. Porzingis is very tall and a great shooter from outside. He's not the most physical big, but he can still score inside. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are just like superstars as well. But sometimes talent isn't everything. Don't want to look into this too much, even though I did just rant about it for 5 minutes. But, it's just one regular season game. And to be fair, the Celtics also already locked up the number 1 seed in the East. They did that before this game. So, they weren't playing for a ton. But, it still feels bad when you're playing against the Hawks, who are like a play-in team right now without their best player. And you lose when you're up by 30. That's kind of crazy. Shout out to DeAndre Hunter, though. Also, shout out to Bogdan Bogdanovic, one of my favorite names in the NBA. These guys hit some really timely threes. And, yeah, just good stuff from Atlanta. I didn't want to talk about the Celtics the whole time. Moving on, another collapse happened last night. I actually was watching a good part of this game, but I wasn't able to see the overtimes. The Lakers went into Milwaukee and were down by 19 and ended up winning the game in double overtime without LeBron James. Wow. So, yeah, Milwaukee was not hurt. They had their normal starting five. They had Middleton, Lopez, Beasley, along with Dame and Giannis. Another instance of a really good Eastern team just collapsing against a play-in team without their best player. Kind of weird that these happen on like back-to-back days. But regardless, I mean, the Lakers, Austin Reeves played great, man. He had a nice triple-double, 29, 14, and 10. Not to mention D'Lo was also pretty good. Not the most efficient, but he was also facilitating more. And Anthony Davis with a monster 34 points, 23 rebounds, 4 blocks, 2 steals. Are you serious? I mean, there's a reason why the Lakers are a threat, even though their record may not say that. And a big reason is Anthony Davis. But, a lot of composure. I'm not going to comment on the refereeing from this game. I know that the free throw disparity was a little high, but I'm just going to give the Lakers their props for coming back in this one. The Bucks, this is unacceptable. I mean, I'm sorry, but Lillard went 9 for 29. 3 for 14 from this is unacceptable. You cannot. And also shout out to Bobby Portis. He's the beloved bench player for the Bucks, like Naz Reid for the Wolves. And in case you're wondering, our guy like that for the Nuggets is definitely Peyton Watson. But like, how do you in front of your home. Like, at least Boston was on the road when they collapsed. Like, LeBron wasn't even playing. Like, it's just a regular season game. I know that, but like, I don't know if Milwaukee, like, they wanted Dame as a closer, and he wasn't able to close this game, unfortunately. But Giannis, I also know, missed some very crucial free throws down the stretch of this game. That continues to be the Achilles heel of his game. The problem is that he's not as dominant as Shaq. So this will come up. He still had I want to say, okay, this obviously this is a really good stat line, but I want to say it's a decent stat line, just in the context of how the game went. He also had 7 turnovers to 11 assists, which that's not a good ratio at all. Still 29 points and 21 rebounds, but he went 1 of 6 from the free throw line, and ended up kind of costing them this game. Yeah. Milwaukee, I mean, they were on the upswing, so and this is just one game. It was very tight. I doubt that Damian Lillard is going to have a game where he shoots this poorly again, like in the playoffs. Maybe one, but like, nah, they'll be fine. All right, moving on. I just want to take a quick look at the standings. We had Boston, who clinched the Eastern Conference. Funny enough, they clinched the Eastern Conference #1 seed before any other team in the league even clinched a playoff berth. The little PS that they have next to the teams just indicates that they have clinched the postseason. So that means that these teams could still fall into the play-in, or they could move up to the playoffs, because the top 6, you're confirmed for the playoffs. The 7 through 10, that's the play-in tournament. So the Nuggets were the first team to clinch the postseason in the West. I want to imagine with 1 or 2 more wins, or maybe a couple losses by Dallas, Sacramento, or Suns, the Nuggets will clinch the playoffs soon. There's about 10 games left, and we're about 8 games up on them. So, yeah, that should come into play soon. Boston, they just had a terrible loss, but they're still Boston, so I'm sure they'll be fine. Milwaukee, same deal. They'll be fine. Cleveland, they got to get healthy. Same with the Knicks. If these 2 teams can be healthy, they can be legit threats to the top 2, I feel. The Magic have been a really good story this season. They're one of the youngest teams in the league, being led by Paolo Banchero. He's not the most efficient player, but he has been their #1 option this year. And they have been one of the best defenses in the league as well. The Pacers had a hot start, but have cooled off a little bit since. Halliburton has kind of taken more of a backseat to Pascal Siakam, the guy they traded from Toronto. Miami is all up and down. They seem to be really cold and then really hot and then really cold again, and they're kind of like middle of the ground right now. They just lost against Golden State at home by like 20. Not a good look. The Sixers have essentially fallen out of contention for making the playoffs. So they'll still be in the play-in. But with Joel Embiid not certain if he's going to come back or not, I don't think they're going to really make any noise. I don't even know if they're going to get out of the play-in. And if they do, they're just going to have to play like Boston or Milwaukee in the first round, and that is not good for them. And then the Bulls and the Hawks. Hawks got a huge win against the Celtics, and the Bulls have been playing okay, I guess. They're pretty much locked in the play-in at this point. But it'll be interesting to see if the Bulls or Hawks can make any type of noise. Honestly, they can. I mean, they're going to have to play each other, but maybe one of them can beat the Sixers. I'll say that, maybe, without Embiid. All right, looking at the West. Nuggets at first, but only by a half game. The Thunder do have the tiebreaker, so the Nuggets will have to bank on the Thunder losing one more game than them as we end the regular season to secure the #1 spot. Nuggets have been, them and Boston have just been on fire since the All-Star break. Honestly, same with the Thunder. The Thunder have been great too. Minnesota's also been really good. The Clippers have been in a complete downswing. They look closer to how they were at the beginning of the season, when they were kind of figuring it out with James Harden coming over from Philadelphia. The Pelicans have been really good lately. They lost their last game, but it was to the Thunder, who have been just a little better. The Pelicans were actually the 4 seed for like a couple days, which was kind of cool because 4 small market teams were the top 4 seeds in the West. Dallas has been great lately. They beat the Nuggets. They played the Kings last night and beat them by almost 40. That was impressive. The Kings have been middle of the road, but they're still like these last few seeds, like literally 4 through 8 is like up in the air. There's only 2.5 game difference between 4 through 8. And the Clippers have definitely fallen out of contention for the number 1 seed. Denver, Oklahoma, and Minnesota are in a tier of their own. And then the next tier is very large. Clippers, Pelicans, Mavericks, Kings, Suns. There's going to be a lot of shifting over the next couple weeks about this. The Lakers are only 2 games behind the Suns for 8th, which I'm not going to lie. If you're the Lakers, you really want to get the 8 seed or above, because if you get the 8 seed or above, that means you only have to win 1 play-in game. And just from a competitive standpoint, if the Lakers want a good chance at winning the championship, which I can't believe I'm saying this because they're the 9 seed, but they have been pretty good lately, you have to avoid Denver in the first round. If the Lakers get Denver in the first round, it's over. Like, nothing I've seen from them over like the last 9 months says that they can beat Denver in a best of 7 series. I don't even know if they can take a game. It seems like almost a mental block for them. Like, they play well against Denver, and then the fourth quarter, Denver just we take over, and Jokic shows them who the best player in the league is, not LeBron anymore. So if you're the Lakers, you gotta get out of there. The Warriors as well have been struggling, and I wouldn't normally talk about a team that's not even in the play-in, but the Rockets have won 9 games in a row. Currently the best streak in the league by quite a bit, actually. The only second place contender is the Mavericks with 5. But yeah, they were literally 25 and they were 10 games under 500. Well, technically 5, I guess. But they've won 9 in a row, and now they are 1 game out of the play-in with Golden State. And suddenly the Rockets have a legit chance to overtake Golden State. And honestly, this has been such a disastrous year for Golden State. Like, honestly, if they get overtaken in like the play or the standings, like, it's probably not that big of a deal, because I don't think the Warriors are gonna win any games. I think they're gonna play in the play-in against the Lakers and lose, or the Suns, or one of these two. They're gonna lose. They're not gonna win anything. They're gonna go one and done. But shout out to the Rockets. They've been playing really good lately. Jalen Green in particular has been amazing. I think he actually got named Western Conference Player of the Week recently. But yeah, that's the standings. Here's the playoff picture if you're wondering how that would play out. The Nuggets would play one of the winners in the play-in tournament. 9 and 10 play. Loser eliminated. Winner goes here. 7 and 8 play. Winner goes to 7 seed. Loser goes here. And then the winner of 9 and 10 plays the loser of 7 and 8. Winner goes to the 8 seed. So if we just go based off of seeding right here, the Kings would be the 7 seed. The Lakers would win against the Warriors and go here. Then it'd be Lakers, Warriors. Lakers, Warriors, or sorry, I misspoke. Lakers, Suns play in a best of 1. Loser goes home. Winner just gets to play Denver in the first round. Like, that sucks. Clippers, Pelicans, I feel, would be an amazing series. I hope that this is the 4-5 matchup. Wolves, Mavericks would be awesome as well. I'd be a big fan of this. And then, yeah, Thunder would probably get the Kings or maybe the Suns. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. East is not as exciting in my opinion. The Celtics are going to roll whoever they play. If this is the matchup, the Knicks are going to win that easily. No offense to Orlando, but the Knicks are just built for the playoffs more, I feel, and they have experience. Cavaliers Pacers, this will be a really interesting matchup because the Cavaliers have been really good this year, but I don't know if a lot of people expected them to win a playoff series. I think if this is the matchup, they do, probably in like 6. And then the Bucks have a chance of playing the Heat in the first round. That's one thing I did want to talk about as well. The Heat are in the play-in again. And I know that I just said that they've been all over this year. Literally, they went on like a 7-game losing streak, and then they won like 11 out of 12. They can catch fire at any moment. I think that Eric Spoelstra, the Heat coach, is the best coach in the league right now. No discredit to Popovich for the Spurs, but he's rebuilding. But they literally could beat Boston in the first round if they're the 8 seed, or the Bucks in the first round if they're the 7 seed. I don't doubt that. They can catch fire at any point. Moving on, I want to talk a little bit about Domantas Sabonis. He recently broke a record for most double-doubles in the shot clock era. That's around the 80s, by the way. In a row. He broke Kevin Love's streak, Kevin Love had his streak in 2010 and 2011 when he played for, I believe, the Cavaliers, or maybe he was still on the Timberwolves. Sabonis, who was not an all-star this year, broke that record. He's had 54 straight double-doubles, and I think as of last night, he's actually at 55 now. Kind of interesting. I mean, obviously, shout out to Sabonis. This is an amazing streak to have, and consistency as well is amazing. Like, he's a really great player. But they said that he might join Wilt Chamberlain as the only players to ever average 20, 13, and 8 for an entire season. And that's kind of weird to me because in Jokic's second MVP season, he averaged 27, almost 14, and 7.9 assists. So that's like kind of misleading stat, but really not that big of a deal. Anyway, yeah, Sabonis has been great. Gonna close out with a couple videos and then a picture. I didn't think I'd be talking about this again, but Draymond Green has recently had some more interactions, to say the least. I'll just play it and you can see it for yourself.
Didn't you see that? And he's got it right on that. Meanwhile, excellent three-pointer. And the Warriors go up by 2. Now Bane and Draymond Green getting involved. People are being knocked down. The officials trying to separate it. Players coming off the court. Now, it's not
in game, but it's still
right,
not great.
Which can make a huge difference in terms of suspensions.
Well, look, if we're going to stay here.
Nothing was called there. Officials push. Nothing officially started. Back in San Francisco, here's how it initially started. See Draymond Green grabbing the jersey there and the push. Nothing was called there. Officials should have called a technical foul there. Then what happens is Taylor Jenkins talking with the official about it. Draymond Green comes in to get involved in the conversation. Desmond Bane takes exception to that. Now this push.
I 100% agree with Mike Breen there, the announcer. This initial thing, Draymond should have been called for a technical here because he literally grabs Aldama's jersey and then like shoves him. And then he goes over to the Memphis Grizzlies coach, talking Taylor Jenkins, by the way. Hang in there, Taylor. I know it's been a rough year. He's a really good coach. But he starts listing, like, what are you doing, man? Like, he's talking to the official about his player and, like, you know, that he wanted a technical for that. And, like, dude, you're such a clown, Draymond. Oh, my gosh. I thought he was going to be a lot better, like, since he had to go like through anger management, behavioral therapy and all that. But this is like, this is dumb. Like, and then he gets into it with Desmond Bane. Like, dude, leave Desmond Bane out of this. Like, whatever. And if you thought that was bad enough, he had another incident like literally last night, or maybe 2 nights ago, where he got into it could be inadvertent. I'll just let you make up your mind for this, but with Patty Mills on the Heat.
They're a half game ahead of the Rockets for the 10th and final spot. Bam! Oh, he got away, but I don't know if it's going to count or not.
It's going to count.
The call is.
It's going to count. And the referee just said score it, and it looks like they're going to call it on Draymond Green, who, boy, oh boy, did he grab Patty Mills, looked like by the throat here. This is watch this replay here. Watch what he does to Patty Mills. Just pulls him back by the throat there. They're going to review that for sure.
That will be reviewed to see if it's going to be a flagrant foul. Look at this.
Man.
Okay, maybe not the toughest headlock you've ever seen, but you cannot deny that this is the second time this season that Draymond Green has, inadvertently or not, put somebody in a headlock. This was reviewed and just called a common foul, which is kind of insane to me given Draymond Green's history. Yeah, I don't know what to say. This is ridiculous, man. Like, I literally don't think he's going to be in the league much longer just because such a repeat offender at this point, man. It's insane. Another thing, it's getting a little chippy in the NBA lately as we're heading towards the end of the season. This one's kind of weird, but Alex Caruso and Jordan Poole on the Wizards kind of get into it. I'll let you watch.
For the first tie of the game. Oh, wow. A lot of bodies in the...
All right. This is insane to me. So okay, the Wizards here are one of the worst teams in the league, but ironically they actually have the longest win streak in the East right now at 3 games. They ended up winning this game against the Bulls. So Alex Caruso here, he's guarding Poole, and Poole kind of like gives him like a little push here. Oh my, that is such a flop. That is such a flop. Like he's just trying to get a call here as well. Poole barely touches him. And believe me, I'm not a Jordan Poole defender. This guy's also a clown. So Caruso goes flying like 10 feet. And then he gets upset about the no call and goes back and just absolutely destroys Jordan Poole. Just completely shoved him over. In my opinion, he should have been ejected for this. That's ridiculous, man. But yeah, tensions are running high at the end of the season. Last video I wanted to see or show you guys. Excuse me. This game Phoenix just played. They played against the Spurs, who did not have their star player, a star rookie, I'll say, Victor Wembanyama. Jeremy Sohan actually had the game of his life against the Suns, where he had 26 points and 18 rebounds. And I'll just play the last 30 seconds, and you can see it from here.
6 on the shot clock again. Going to the basket. Sohan for 3. Oh my goodness! The Globe is good. 104-102. Spurs by 2. As Sohan hits his first 3 after missing 6.
He just brought a ton of focus to that shot. Got his legs underneath him. Good looking release there from Jeremy Sohan.
13 seconds, 6 seconds on the shot clock. Durant. No. Rebound. Phoenix. Booker. Back out. Durant. 3 seconds. Booker. No. Rebound. Spurs.
Man, shout out to the Spurs for winning this. Worst team in the West this season without pretty much their best player, Wembanyama. And Jeremy Sohan, who was 0 for 6 from 3 before this, hits his first 3 of the game to put him up by 2. Not to mention Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, both with open looks for 3 here, and they both missed. Good stuff from the Spurs. Kind of deflating from Phoenix, but we'll see if they can bounce back tonight against Denver. Last thing I want to talk about was the other night I was over at my friend's house and we were watching a little bit of the Cavaliers Timberwolves game. And they had some memorabilia in the crowd. And I'll just show you the picture. They had Nas Reed beach towels that they gave to all the Timberwolves fans. This is so cool. Like, I'm not a I kind of like the Timberwolves actually, even though they are rivals to the Nuggets, because I really like Ant-Man and obviously Nas Reed, but like it's just this meme is like been blown way out, and like now that they're like very self-aware about it, they love Nas Reed, and he's a good player too. I actually like Nas Reed a lot, but yeah, these towels are like this is just really cool to see. Like, you should have seen them like all holding these towels up in the fourth quarter. It was really cool to see. But anyway, I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode. I think I talked probably a lot longer than I meant to, but still, I had a good time recording today. Hopefully I can record again this weekend or maybe early next week, and we'll see what's going on with the NBA then. But thank you for listening or watching. Really cool to have my friends supporting me, my family checking this out, and I enjoy doing this a lot. But yeah, this has been Rockin' with the Brocklin. I will catch you guys later.